Greetings and welcome to all the listeners. My name is Ali Zainal Abidin. I'm the lecturer in Surakarta Muhammadiyah University. Today, I would like to present my paper alongside my partner, Ms. Dwi Prasatyani. We will talk about the socioeconomic aspects for women farmers to empower them in order to support the SDGs or the Sustainable Development Goals. And the reason why I would love to talk about this is because of how major or how dominant this sector of agriculture, especially in Indonesia, and how women farmers are actually contributing a lot to this sector. And this paper will be presented for the 8th ICSAE in 11 Mart University Solo. So today's discussion would be about the women farmers as our subject and the empowerment. So the two main questions for today are why the agricultural sector and why women farmers as our subjects. So in order to respond to these questions, let me tell you something. That Indonesia, as one of the largest economies in the world, holds huge agricultural potential. Reports from some research, including ICSAE in 2020 paper, show that at least Indonesia had, in the year of 2018, we had at least 11 million, 11.3 to be to be to be exact, 11.3 million acres of potential agricultural land in 2018. And other data from the paper of Lestari in 2020 also showed that the potential of Indonesia's fertile agricultural land were from the land with an area of 189.1 million acres, that it has at least 31.9 million acres of optimal fertile land and at least more suboptimal land that can be utilized for farmery industry or even traditional agriculture. And another data from the PPS, or the National Statistic Authority, in the paper of Maulana and Nubatonis on 2020, showed that the Indonesian agriculture sector, at least this year since the pandemic, account for at least 2.3% of Indonesia's total exports. And agriculture considered to be able to survive the crisis because it can create the high labor or high employment, especially in informal sector, including one of the major or dominant subject are the women farmers themselves. In another paper that was written by Arsanti and back in 2013, she said that the agricultural sector absorbed a lot of informal workers, especially women. This confirmed what I have said earlier, where these women farmers also play a major role in the activities ranging from the seeding and then the planting activity, the maintenance. They have to maintain a lot of things, and then to harvest the products from the farm, and then and many other things. But however, these women farmers are still underdeveloped. They have many limitations, especially in terms of power, their manpower and their time, and other limitations, such as the uh, low levels of educations, low level of skills, and then low ability to capture opportunities, and low potential utilization, and many others. Especially one of them is the weak assistance from the third parties. including from the government or even the society themselves. And at least 70% of Indonesian women live in rural areas of Indonesia. And from these 70%, 55% of them work in the agriculture sector. This is based on the research of Putri and Anzari in the year of 2021. And we have seen, and this research have showed us that women farmers are contributing into the agriculture sector. They are one of the dominant party within the sector, but they are still underappreciated as one of the foundations for the state development, or even they are still underappreciated for their own families, their own families' development. Therefore, this study seeks to provide an overview about this particular situation and to provide a new study, new perspective regarding the socioeconomic aspects for these women farmers in order to support them and to empower them and to achieve a better future for themselves, including the Sustainable Development Goals. And this particular paper used the literature reviews to provide more data within the field. This is what I mentioned before, that the 70% of Indonesian women live in rural areas. And yeah, at least most of them are underappreciated with lack of education, lack of skills, or even lack of potential self-improvements, and many others. Therefore, the research methods for today's presentation, it will use the qualitative approach. Why? Because we need to seek other literatures, other proofs, other data from many, at least 27 journal articles that I sorted from Google Scholar. And these particular journal articles, they are mainly talk about the ways or the conditions of women farmers in Indonesia. And the qualitative approach was used because in order to explain the situation of these women farmers, we need to look over the data. We need to look over the reality of their lives, on how they work, how they have to deal with things on a daily basis, including in their family or even in the public sector. We need further explanations, and the best approach to describe this is through the qualitative approach. And we use the literature study methods because we need the data from the other researcher. And this data will be collected, and we will analyze them through content analysis, which consists of data collection, data reduction from all the data pool that we received from all these articles, and then we reduce them in order to conclude the pattern we see from all the journals that we have reviewed. And then the results and discussions. The first results would be about the socioeconomic aspects for these women farmers. So that you can see, as we can see on the screen, the female farmers, they are facing dual to triple roles within the family. And this is basically because of the social and economic or even cultural limitations. Let's talk about the cultural limitation first. We maybe know that the majority of people in this world live in the patriarchy culture, and it has been a part of us for many years. And we can't just separate the work for female and male in the division of in their work divisions. We can't really separate them, and so since we have lived through this particular culture, it's been difficult for female farmers, for women farmers to have the integrity, to have the power to be, the policymaker or the decision maker in, especially in their own families. And they have a lot of works in both the uh, public role, the public field, or even the domestic field, as a wife, as a housewife, or even as a mother of their children. And then they still have to work, and they choose to work because they want to contribute more for their families. They want to sacrifice themselves more, and this is what make women as a strong or a very very strong individual, because they just want to sacrifice themselves for the greater good. And sadly, they often are considered as his only as their husband's servant. They don't have the education, they don't have the skills, they just have to listen to their husbands. And this is their main limitation, and it is basically connected with the culture. And um, they face other discrimination as well because of their educational background. They mainly don't have the higher educational level, because they can't go through that. And then they have low technological innovations, they have low technological education, they don't really have any special skills, but they just want to survive and they want to contribute more. So this is what makes women special, because they want to contribute more. But um, oddly enough, the society, they don't always see them as, sorry, the society, they don't always see these women farmers as the contributors for the state development. And other aspect showed that there has been disparity in the sector itself, and the agricultural sector, where women farmers spend at least 510 hours in agricultural activities, while men only spend 458 hours. There is a disparity, and this is based on Bernard in Putri and Manzari's research in 2021. So from this data, we could see that how women have contributed more than men, but the cultural limitation only wants to see these women farmers as the husband servant. So there is a huge discrimination here. And another data from Spartiningsi in 2014 paper, she mentioned that women actually contribute quite a lot for their families. And she mentioned that at least women had contribute around 37% to 40% for their family income. And Satyaji, in his 2020's paper, he mentioned that the average farmer's income was actually around 43 million per year in Indonesian rupiah. But if we see the previous research from Spartaningsi, that she mentioned at least women contribute around 37% for the family, then it means that on the average, women farmers have contributed at least 16 million per year in Indonesian rupiah, based on the Satyaji data. and that is around 45,000 per day. But another research show that um, another data from the Amalia another data from Amalia mentioned that in rural areas the average is even lower than what's mentioned from the previous research. It is believed that in rural areas in Sumber Harjo, Sleman, or it is around the central Java, the women farmers only got around 850,000 per month, or is it around 28,000 per day? So that is there is basically uh, a difference of at least 20,000 rupiahs per day for these women farmers in terms of their income per day. So this difference is basically because of many reasons that we have mentioned before. Maybe it is because they can't really deal with income. They can't really deal with their their products because they don't really know what to do afterwards. They don't really have the education on how to process these products. They don't really have the skills on how to process them, or even they got lack of attention from other parties, mainly the government. The government maybe don't want to they don't want to look for ways to solve their problems. And particularly about the government, there has been an issue of undervalue politics in this sector, in this agriculture sector. The politicians tend to see agricultural sector as the uh, as stuck stuck. Yeah, they want they usually see agricultural sector as stuck somehow because of this particular situation. They see that the farmers, they don't really have the power to increase their values, and this lack of attention lead to low farmer exchange rate, or in Indonesia we call it nilai tukar petani, or NTP. And this is a serious problem in agriculture sector because they are struggling themselves, and they don't have the ability, they don't have the support from other parties. They lack of attention, and they have their limitations, and then they are facing poverty themselves. They don't have the great standards of living. So how to actually fix the situation? And in some of these research, we got something as an alternative solution that is called the empowerment. Why the empowerment? It is because empowerment is one of the development patterns that based on groups, and that empowering women is actually an effective way because they actually contribute more to the economic development, as we mentioned earlier before, that they actually contribute a lot to this sector. And that why is it has to be in a group? So they choose they have to be in a group because this is the effective way to to empower them based on Susi law papers in 2014, Cecilia mentioned that um, in order to support the um, in order to support themselves, they actually have to uh, prioritize themselves, and this is how they have to do. This is what they have to do. They have to empower themselves in order to survive and in order to be a greater individual and in great community. So according to some papers, they mentioned that the best place to start the empowerment is through the women farmer groups. And why does these groups important? That this particular group, they create uh, great values. They produce great values like kindship, and they could become the place for them to for these women farmers to support each other. They have the cooperative trade, they have the honesty, they have the um, social capital. This particular group holds the social capital from all its members. And a paper mentioned that a paper from AFIFA in 2020s mentioned that this particular group of women farmers, they could become a training and learning place, and that includes the processing products that we mentioned, because basically these women farmers don't really have the education or the skills because of their limitations. And this particular group usually consists of at least 20 members, with many principles that I've mentioned, with cooperative traits. And then um, in this group, it has its own threat because of the age constraint. Since we know that many women farmers are usually old enough, and they are already have the feeling of resignation. They don't really want to continue what they're doing, and they are wishing that their children will not suffer the same way as they do, or even the threat from their household business, because they are the housewife and the mother of the children, so uh, they are facing the triple roles. And how to actually start to empower them? The To be able to empower these women farmers, Abhoff mentioned that a researcher named Abhoff in Sadono paper in 28 mentioned that in order to empower these women farmers, we have to be clear. We have to be very clear on what to reflect, um, and what to reflect our intention to empower them. And it has to be uh, about a learning process more than about the results. And another researcher mentioned that it has to be about the plan. Everything is about the plan, and empowerment has some stages, and that consists of planning and then the implementation and evaluation. We need to plan everything. We need to plan these women farmers, what they want to achieve and what the results we want, and then we need to do the implementation. This is the main thing. What could we do about them? What could we provide them? We need to provide them with lots and lots of information. We need to provide them with the proper support. We need to provide them with um, the skills, and then the books, the literatures, the projects, or even the other parties that we could attract, or we could ask them to, in order to implement something new for these women farmers. And then after we do something, after we have done a project for these women farmers, we can actually evaluate them on how did it go, how have things gone. Are they going as our plans or not? And according to many research, like from Arseni, Titra, and Hillmans, Elizabeth, or even Proposivi, in many years, there are many things that we could actually do to empower these women farmers. And there are at least 10 things, according to this research that I mentioned down below. The very first thing we can do is the savings or loans program. Maybe we have heard about the Grameen Bank that Professor Muhammad Yunus formed and founded in uh, some years in the 80 in Bangladesh. That particular bank was about giving loans to women, especially because they are believed to be the actor behind every family. So the same thing we want to deliver for these women farmers is this particular program, because we need to give them money, we need to give them what they need in order to improve themselves. And that thing is what we need to see. And the second thing we can do to empower women farmers is to process the agricultural products. We need to help them to process their own products. We need to give them the knowledge. We need to give them the proper skills in order to create greater values for the products. They can't just sell the products. They can't just sell the raw products to traders, because traders only seek for low prices. They don't really want to go to high price, because these traders know that these farmers could not live without them. So we need to help these women farmers to process these agricultural products. And then the third thing is to do some field counseling or even training, and especially for the production aspect. Maybe the another reason is a technical issue that lead to their low of income. Maybe aside from the catastrophe, maybe it's because of their lack of knowledge on how to do production aspect, how to produce the products in the most effective and efficient way. And that's something we need to help them with. And then let's not forget the fourth path. We need to record everything. We need to make reports. We want these women to make a record of their uh, production. We need them to record the how is it going with the processing, or even about the income they got. So we need to record everything so we can evaluate them on which aspect we can develop more. And then the informal life skill education. We want them to develop as a community. We don't want them to develop as their own self. We need to bring more um, more social capital. We need to bring them as a team. We can't just give them informations, but they can't really deliver the information for themselves. So particular life skill education for these women farmers. And then we also need the access to technology, mainly to Facebook. Why? Because Facebook has been known as one of the largest platform these days, and including for farmers themselves. They often sell their own products in Facebook, and that is based on Arseny paper in 2016. So we need more access to technology. We need these people to gain more and more attention from the market, and especially in Facebook, or even like nowadays applications such as Shopee or even Tokopedia, Bukalapak, many other platforms that they can try to learn and to know how to sell in those platforms. And then they can also join business groups. We know that groups are very effective in terms of empowerment. That is said by Susie Law in 2014. So we need these women farmers to join the groups. We want them to join. We want them to join the business groups because there will be a lot of information from these business groups, and that's not only from the farmers but also from um, other players, like maybe they are traders or even they are the guys from the manufacturing businesses. So yeah, we need to join this we need to let these women farmers join business groups, or even from the government themselves. And then the government could actually improve the regulations. They need to improve the regulations because of this what so-called as undervalued politics. It has to stop. We can't really let this agricultural sector down because this is our primary necessity. We can't live without agriculture. So the government need to improve agricultural regulations as well. And these women farmers could actually support that. They can be the player, they can be the main player to improve to give advice for the government in order to improve the regulations. And then as a community, they need to strengthening their own motivation and social capital. They need to develop as a network. They need to give proper trust. They need to give um, the feedbacks towards each other. So we will have a high motivation among women farmers that they want to develop themselves, and that would be really good for the sector. And the last thing would be increasing in job opportunities and protections. As a community, they can protect themselves even better in order to face the limitations, in order to face the traders or even these catastrophes that in the future we will never know. We need to let these women farmers increase their own protections, and then we can also advise them to create more job opportunities, because if we could process their own products, that would be a great opportunity for us and for women farmers to create something new and to deliver greater values. And one final thing, it has to be, or there has to be synergy among stakeholders and policymakers, because we will never do this alone. We could never do this alone. This so-called partnership is one of the sustainable development goal itself, and apparently in any other aspect or in any other sector, this is the most important thing, because without proper synergies, proper partnership, any other great goals will never be achieved. And what so-called as stakeholders and policymakers, it's not only about the government, but it's up to us as well. Empowerment needs agents of change, and the agents of change are not only based on the subjects of empowerment. We can't really we can't really tell these women farmers to develop themselves, but we need to be a part of it. That's what we call as participation. We need to participate ourselves in their own development. And this is what I call as synergies, because we need to be a part of them. We need to be a part of the agriculture development. And if we have given our parts, then it is the time for the government to support us as their feedbacks, because this is how we work. This is how uh, development works. We need to synchronize. We need to make a great partnership among each other. So this is the very important thing in how in the things to do with women farmers empowerment, and we really need to do this as soon as possible. That's it for today. I hope everybody could enjoy this presentation. uh, I really hope to see you guys in the next conferences. That's all for me. Thank you very much and enjoy your day. Good luck.